Hello everybody. I'd like to take you along and do a hive inspection with me. These guys right here are aptly named the Bunny Boys, and they were a recent split that I did a few days prior, and I just wanted to open them up and make sure that they're all doing okay. So, sorry, adjusting the camera here. So, in this first frame, I'm just checking and making sure that they have enough bees to be able to raise their brood and to raise a queen correctly. And I'm checking, making sure I see those queen cells, and I know that these guys don't have very many bees in this video. I went ahead and I added a few more, an extra frame, later on, because it was getting cold for the next few days. And I wanted to make sure that they were totally good. So anyway, I spotted a couple queen cells in here, and saw that they were filled up with some royal jelly. And sorry, the problem with over here is there's a lot of mosquitoes. They like to munch on me over here, and you'll see them flying around here along with the bees if you look closely. It's kind of hard to swat them away while you're holding the frame too. But anyway, I'm giving it one last look through. So if you look at the brown cappings there, you see some normal worker brood. And then if you see those large bulbous caps, those are the ones right in the top center frame there. Those are the ones that they're raising a queen in right there. And how they raise a queen is they basically pick out a worker bee. So I'm just pushing them along the side here. They don't really like the oils and the heat from your finger, so they kind of, move away from, and who likes being poked, right? So they kind of move away, and it helps me get a better look at the royal jelly inside. But anyway, the way they raise a queen is they pick out an egg, pick out a worker egg, and they feed her royal jelly, like all completely royal jelly. And then they build up that cell around her so she has room. Normal workers only get royal jelly for the first few days, and then they're capped off and kind of raised. And the interesting thing about the queens is, since they get such a high protein and nutrient dense food, is they get raised way faster than the workers. So the workers can take up to like 24 days, and the queens only take about 16, which is really interesting. So they get those queen cells capped off within like a week or two. It's really, within about a week, they get them capped off. It's really fast. So then we're moving on to my next hive over here. This was another split that I did. So right now I'm just scanning, making sure that they're all going in the hive, or that there's a lot of hive activity. Let me open them up right here. And right now I spot a bee with what looks to be American foul brood. Her wings are really deformed, and it's hard to see on the camera, I know. I'm sorry that doesn't focus very well in the dark here, but her wings are kind of deformed, and she was dead when I found her. So these guys are much more active. They have a lot more bees, and they're doing really well. Actually, since this inspection, I took one of their frames, added it to the other hive that was pretty low on bees, so that they'd and the frame that I added had other queen cells on it as well, so it kind of gave them an extra chance. More queen cells, the more likely they were to raise them, especially since they had such a low number of bees. I was kind of worried that they weren't going to be able to raise that queen right. So Anyway, since then, I added a frame to these guys and the bunny boys, so that they're both kind of at a 2 or 3 frames worth of bees there. So they're much, much more likely to do better. So I'm just kind of gently moving them along here, just kind of try and pry the frames apart, and you can kind of see me struggling. They're on there pretty good. They're pretty stuck on there. They do a really good job at sealing that stuff. And no, just before you ask, no, I didn't hurt any bees. They're all okay. I tried my best to avoid them when I use my pocket knife. Alright, so on this frame we see a pretty good cluster of bees, some brood at the bottom. And if you look at kind of the bumps where they're all clustered around, that's kind of where some of the queen cells were. So I was just checking these guys, giving them a really good look through because I was worried about that foul brood. That could be pretty bad. So I was just kind of hoping that it was just, just that one, and that I wouldn't have to do anything too drastic. So it wasn't enough light to pick it up, but inside those cells, where they're not capped off, some of them had eggs, and some of them just had nectar or honey, soon to be honey, right? So I was just trying to get a good look at those. So any of the ones that kind of glisten on the camera, you can kind of tell that they're nectar. It's hard to see though. So right now, I spotted another bee with that deformed wings. So it's either that foul brood or maybe deformed wing virus. And so usually what they'll do is they'll cast off that bee themselves. They'll kick her out of the hive and then she'll eventually die. It doesn't pick up on the camera, but when she was walking around, she was really shaky. And if you look, all these other bees are really fluid, they're really healthy, but when she was walking around, it was, she just looked really sickly. And the other thing that I'm looking for is I'm trying to get an eye count for mites. I know that's not really reliable, but if I obviously, since it's such a low population, you can kind of look at them and kind of tell. And if you see a few mites, then there could be a problem. But I didn't see any, and I know that that's not necessarily valid proof, but it's just kind of validation for me that there's not a whole lot going on there. So I'm putting this hive back together, and in a second I'll try to get a close-up look at those two, at a difference between one of the bees with that deformed wing and a healthy bee. And so there she is again. I found her crawling on the lid there. So if you can look, she's kind of shaky, doesn't really move around very fluid or in any like straight lines, just kind of sporadic and malnourished. So I was getting I know she's off cam there because I was getting a good look in my eye. Just trying to get a good look see there. So I drop her again over there. Close this bad boy up, and then take a closer look at her. Being very careful not to crush the bees. And I know that it's kind of, one thing they don't tell you is you're bound to crush bees. It's gonna happen. You'll do it all the time. Now that I got this all closed up here, let's take a look at these two bees. So the one on the right is the one that I dropped on the ground with that deformed wing virus or maybe foulbrood. And you can tell that her wings are just kind of like little nubs, right? She's shaky and her abdomen is really small versus a healthy bee right here who has the full wings and a thick abdomen and she's just really healthy. But that gives you a good kind of comparison look of things that are going wrong here. But anyway, thanks for coming with me, guys. I hope you like this, and